I just got off a phone call with the governor. That's where I was on with all the Jewish community.
Okay. Okay, terrific. Well, first of all, thank you very much to both of you for joining me this morning. Okay, so the first point that I wanted to discuss is basically as representatives of the largest Jewish community in the state over here. It looks like everyone now is coming out in support of Israel. There are a lot of statements coming from various governmental offices, etc. Is this indicative of the real feeling in Trenton? Do you feel that this is maybe support, which is a knee-jerk response to what's going on right now, to the war? And if so, is there a way to make it more substantial? And how do we make it more substantial going forward for Israel's benefit?
Well, at this point, just as far as the legislature is concerned, it's not. It's indicative of the fact that we are always standing for Israel. This is nothing new. I don't think it's a knee-jerk reaction. It's just we have the chance to really verbalize it and show our support in a more noticeable way and more meaningful way, especially with what's going on in Israel right now.
Senator Singer, what do you have thoughts on that?
I don't think there's enough in Trenton. I know the governor's very supportive, but many times in the legislature, I don't feel there's a lot of support. For example, I don't appreciate the comments of the president of Rutgers. They weren't strong enough, and as you know, they're having a major rally there tomorrow. We've gone to him in the past about certain things. He seems not to be as concerned as he should be for the Jewish community, and I don't see that support in Trenton to say hold him accountable to it. I just mentioned on the call to the governor that his statements were not strong enough. His excuse is he has to allow pro-Hamas rallies in the middle of the campus is not reasonable. They can say any place, doesn't have to be in the middle of the campus. So I think there's some work to be done. I think this brings it to a highlight, but I would like to see certainly more solidarity in non-tragic times like this from the I speak from the Senate. I don't sit in the Assembly, but in the Senate itself.
Do you have any thoughts on how the constituency, how as voters, what can we do to firm up that support? Is there anything that we can do, listeners can do, viewers can do?
Well, actually, viewers can do is that their legislators in North Jersey. It's not down here. It's not the Ned Thompsons of the world and the Sean Keens of the Bob Singers, and it's not the Ocean and Monmouth County contingent. It's the contingents in North Jersey, Bergen County, or things like that don't speak up enough for the Jewish community as I believe they should.
Maybe our community can, which is more active, maybe we can galvanize those northern communities to be a little bit more vocal. Maybe that's an
Actually,
idea.
I think the Democratic Party up there is just not as attuned to where they should be. Whereas I feel within the Republican Party, there's strong support for Israel, for certainly the views of Jews in general. I don't see that in some of the Democratic areas.
I have to agree with the senator. I mean, speaking for the Republican caucus, I'm caucus leader. Our caucus is strongly behind Israel. I've been on the Commission for Israel for many years. Very strong support, I think, statewide as far as the Republican Party is concerned. But Bob's right. There are contingents that are more concerned with their areas in specific and not really supporting the Israel and the Jewish communities that really need the help that we're looking for, that we fought for.
This is from we're talking now from the local perspective, which is very important. Israel is actually a very strong trade partner. I did a little bit of research, and I see that we rank higher trade with Israel from New Jersey than Hong Kong, Australia, the United Arab Emirates. Like, there's a lot of trade that really goes on with Israel. Is there any talk or any concern right now about how this may impact the economy of New Jersey?
From my perspective, I sit on the Commission of Science and Technology for the state. From the Senate, as you know, we are encouraged, involved with many of the technologies with Israel directly. Again, we have been enticing Israeli companies to move here. I'm on the Israeli Commission, as you know, also. We've been working with them to do so and support them both here and in Israel. I think that bond will be stronger. Technology coming out of Israel is tremendous. Great minds there. We're working with them on that, and I think that this will even strengthen Israeli companies.
I agree with the senator. As a matter of fact, I was supporting in resolutions of favored nation treatment, in which it gives much easier for the technology as well as other parts of our industry, such as pharmaceuticals, to be trading partners with Israel on much stronger basis than is now.
You know, I had a little note for myself regarding pharmaceuticals, particularly there's been a shortage of amoxicillin, one of the main go-tos, you know, and Teva Pharmaceuticals, huge player in the pharmaceutical market. You know, we're already at a fragile situation. The economy is incredibly fragile. If you start mixing in more difficulties with medicine, it's a really rough situation.
We have to break the ties with China, which manufactures a lot of our medicines, and do more with Israel, which has the capability to do it a lot more. So I think there's good things in that way ahead for us in a trading partner with Israel.
God willing, God willing. Back on the local perspective. So I'm personally aware. I know people who travel back and forth for business, and right now they're obviously not. It's almost not possible for them. Is there a help for people who are dependent on Israel, who are very largely focused on Israel with trade? There's a lot of kosher food coming in. There's a lot of tech work. There's a lot of stuff. Is there anything from a state level that people from Lakewood or people from New Jersey can turn to Trenton for help, given this situation? I mean, I know that there's the regular, unemployment, and we know that, but is there any type of codicil or any type of program for wartime emergencies that can be tapped into for people that are going to be hurting now, likely for a good few months to come?
Basically, in my opinion, there will be something. It's too early at this stage right now. We haven't seen the ultimate effects of what's going to happen. We've been at a session, both Assemblyman Thomson, Assemblyman Keene, and myself have been asking the legislature to come back in to do our work. For some reason, the Senate President and Speaker do not want to come back to Trenton. There's no question about it when we get back, and they're not planning to come back till after election. This has to be a top priority. We have to take a look at that. And there is money available. We had from the COVID money. We certainly can move that money in to help companies and individuals that are severely hurt by what is happening with trade with Israel. And for example, I know in Lakewood, the title company, Madison Title, does a tremendous amount of work in Israel. And I'm sure they're going to have a problem with that. So we've got to look to help those companies and help those individuals to make sure they're made whole at least.
Yeah, there's funding from the federal standpoint and also from the state level that we can marshal up to really substantially support these businesses and individuals that are going to be hurting from the conflicts that are going on with Israel. It's not going to be. This is not a one-day thing. This is going to be going on for a very long time.
Right.
And the only way to deal with this is the same way that Bush dealt with it after 9/11, because this is Israel's 9/11, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it has to be dealt that way. And that is total eradication. And that will never happen again. I mean, that's really the key at this point. And any way that we can support that, I mean, you have to remember that we have one of the largest joint bases in the United States with Joint Base McGuire. And the support that we can do on a state level and also federally to get all the help that we can do to Israel and to bring people back to the United States. And they can do that out of Joint Base McGuire.
That's specifically one of the reasons why I wanted to speak with you as the state legislators, because I think people underestimate and don't understand exactly what the state of New Jersey, what you can do from a state level. Everybody's been looking now towards the Congress and towards the State Department and the help that and contacting our congressional representatives, but there is what we can do on a state level. And I'm glad you mentioned that. And that's really one of the reasons why I wanted to get on this call and speak with you.
Yeah, well, primarily we have the National Guard that trains out of McGuire. That's a state level organization that the governor really is able to call into action, and that's something that we need right now. We called for them for evacuation flights, what the State Department is doing, as well as what they're doing out of McGuire. The supplies are rolling in. That's coming out of McGuire, and the air bridge that's built right now that goes from here all the way to Israel with the tankers, the refueling in the air, getting the materials into place that are really going to be helpful to ultimately eradicate out Hamas and this horrible, horrific attack on Israel.
That's
And
really
we're also asking about the concern I have is that, and we've asked the governors, and we're urging, they're talking about evacuation. As you know, there's literally thousands of Lakewood people stuck in Israel right now that want to come home. I think it's ludicrous that the State Department is saying, well, we'll fly to Europe. I mean, fly them home. Fly our people to McGuire. Let them come home. I mean, asking that you're going to put people in Europe and find your own way home is ludicrous. It's just going to create another chaos. These people need to come back to America. We need to step up to the plate and say, let's bring them to McGuire and let them come home from there. So that's an issue we're looking at and urging that we change that concept, saying we're just going to fly them to Europe someplace, and then you'll have to find your own way home. It's just not right and not fair.
Yeah, you're not kidding. As a matter of fact, I saw a report this morning of a individual or a family that was flown to Greece, and within like 5 minutes or something, they were busy or flabbergasted, whatever it was, they were distracted and they lost all their belongings. It was stolen.
It's not just that too. It's you can't fly from Greece home. You then have to fly from Greece to maybe London. I mean, it is an outrageous amount of money they're charging. They're actually charging crazy numbers. But how do people do that? You're going to drop them someplace and say, figure out how to get home?
Right.
With children and young children? You can't do that. Bring them back to the United States. They will find their way back to their homes from being in the United States.
American soil.
Whether it's McGuire, whether it's Kennedy Airport, those are big facilities. They can handle those numbers. They've got to come back to the United States, not dropped off in some place in Europe and say, find your way home. It is 100% wrong.
Well, between McGuire and Dover, Joint Base Dover in Delaware, we have the facility to move thousands and thousands of people. We do it all the time. And as well as our troops going over and supplies going over, those planes can bring those folks back. They don't have to come back empty, and that's the key at this point. I know it's a 11-hour flight. It's not an easy hop, but they can get them all the way home. It's possible. We just have to make sure that the political will is there to force their hand to make sure that the government takes care of these people.
Well, I'm glad to hear that the political will is there from the 30th district, and so I hope that we can follow up on that, because you're right. We do have a resource, and we should use it for the good of the people of New Jersey and the good of the people of America. The resolution that you're planning now to bring support for Israel, can you give us some details about what it is that you're planning to put forward?
We've been stymied. Senator Panaccio and myself have said we want to call back a session in, number one, to show the support officially through resolution of the state of Israel and the Jewish people in Israel, the condemning of Hamas and all that support them, and the solidarity of the state of New Jersey in a formal action of the legislature, both supporting financially in any way we can the state of Israel and the Jewish population, and also making aware of the fact that we are on board of the concerns of the safety of the Jewish population within New Jersey. It is something we thought should be done immediately. We asked to come back in a special session to pass the resolution, and the Senate president denied us.
Yeah,
as Bob's indicated, we have called to get back into session to do our work, to marshal those assets, to marshal everything we can to help Israel at this point. We know how to do it. We did it when we went into Afghanistan. We've done it when we went into Iraq. This is not a mystery. This is not our first rodeo, unfortunately. So we have to get back into session to do our work. And unfortunately, the Democratic side don't seem to be taking it that seriously.
It's very frustrating, but I'm glad to hear you say that, though. Senator Singer, I wanted to go back to a point in 20 some odd years ago, I would say probably, as I was actually living in Israel at the time when your daughter Sari was on the 2 bus. I think she won't remember because she was obviously very out of it. I actually went to the hospital to visit her and see, make sure that she was okay. Can you tell us a little bit from a personal perspective, just take us back, like what that was about, what that was like?
Well, it was 20 years ago, this past June.
Right.
And a matter of fact, the call I just was on with the governor, Sarah was on the call because she's on the Israeli commission. The governor pointed to that. I know the horror of getting a phone call that your child is in a terrorist attack. It's frightening. I mean, I can tell you, your heart goes into your mouth. You don't know where and what to call and what to do. I was very fortunate that High Lifeline was very, very good to me. Their connections in Israel, Hadassah, I got the call that she was being taken to Kedem Hospital, which is Hadassah Hospital, because of my involvement with the Jewish Community Federation, past president, stuff like that. I was able to get a hold of the head of Hadassah. They were able to tie me in with the surgeon before she went into surgery. And I was at least knowing that she was in good hands on my way over there. I was fortunate the governor gave me his helicopter because the next flight out was going out from Kennedy. I could never have made it. And they held the plane for me. I'm sure the other people on the plane weren't happy about it, but it was a frightening experience. And I did not feel comfortable in knowing my daughter was safe until I actually saw her. I cannot imagine the horror of not knowing from the people that are here when they hear about a loved one that might have been hurt or they don't know where they are. It is something no parent should have to go through. It is a horror of horrors. And I can tell you that terrorism, in this case, Hamas bomber, by the way, a 19-year-old got on a bus and killed 17 people, innocent people, women, children, grandmothers, for no reason. And Hamas family treated him as a hero, that this 19-year-old killed 17 people and hurt many people that were injured. I can only tell you that Israel has got to do what they're doing to Hamas. Hamas has to be obliterated, period. No ands, ifs, or buts. What they did in Israel, what they've done in the past, these are animals. They're not people, they're animals. And I can tell you that as a parent of a survivor of terrorism, and one great thing my daughter does, she works with victims of terrorism. She's been on with Israel,
Right.
and working with them. And again, she goes back and forth to Israel a lot. This is difficult times for families, and there is no easy way out of it. And that my heart goes out to all of them, having known getting the phone call. And I just pray that the hostages come back safe.
That's an amazing personal story, and that's something that I wanted to end with, and I wanted people to hear. And it's an amazing story about how someone who didn't really have involvement turned a tragedy into something positive. Now we're looking at 20 years later and the people that she helped, and God willing, we should turn this even greater tragedy into a greater light in the future.
Well, she speaks around the world of rights of victims, and she's phenomenal what she does. She speaks, every one of the major countries have her there. And when they had the memorial service for the subway bombing in London, the mayor had her there to come speak. When they were in Spain, they had her come speak. So she speaks around the world because she understands it and understands the problems going on with that. And I have to tell you that it is something that is deep-seated that we sometimes forget about the victims and their families. We cannot. They need help and they need understanding, and I can tell you that for a fact.
Terrific. Okay, thank you very much. I want to wish you both the best of luck in the elections and going forward. And I guess I will probably talk again, I guess, as things become more relevant, but I appreciate the time.
Just stay safe.